What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the fourth episode of the BTW Podcast, Beers, Toys, and Wrestling. Um, I am Nate Gleason, joined here by Lance Johnson
Hello.
and Dustin Hayward.
Yo.
All right. Um, so, how is everybody doing?
Pretty good. Nothing major's happened. I think that we're all doing pretty well. Yeah, nothing really out of the norm or exciting.
All right, Dustin.
Yeah, same. Everything's going pretty good, man. Had the whole week off work so far. Probably won't go back till Tuesday, except for I got to go in for a couple hours tomorrow to do schedules and inventory.
All
But
right.
yeah, it's been pretty relaxed, just chilling,
Good.
playing Doom.
Um, we're everything's going pretty well here too. We just found out that we're gonna have my niece again on Tuesday. So there was like said, I think last week there was a potential of her being exposed, but the her 14-day period has gone by, so we're gonna be able to have her over the house again, which is excellent. Um, so good to hear that everybody's doing well. All right, so let's kick this off how we usually do. What's everybody sipping on tonight?
All right, I'll go first. Once again, I've got my zero sugar cherry vanilla Coke.
Okay, so you're still gonna be dry for a little longer here.
Yeah, I figured we'll see what happens with WrestleMania, but it being spread over 2 nights. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Hmm.
I lost like 5 pounds this week, so if it's having a positive effect. That, and I think a lot of it too is we're eating fresh because things are kind of hit or miss at the grocery store.
Hmm.
Uh, so we're eating a lot better in general, and I've been cooking more. We just grilled some steak tips tonight, and yeah, so trying to stay positive and make positive changes where need be.
Yeah. Yep. No, I've noticed a the same. Um, just doing less often, and it's it's a nice little respite. Gives your body a little chance to reset almost. Um, uh, Dustin, how about you?
Yo, well, I picked up a new thing, which is from the Dew Claw Brewing Company called Dirty Little Freak,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is sorry.
Keep going.
Yeah, that's caramel coconut chocolate brown ale,
Mm.
and we're looking at a 5.8 uh, alcohol volume.
And yeah, and you did send us a picture of that earlier in the week, and oof, man, that looks very good. I'm gonna shoot you guys a picture in the chat right now of what I am drinking tonight. It is. It was actually kind of a very much anticipated beer around here from Harpoon Brewery, which is a local brewery in Boston. Um, uh, Lance, you probably know the affiliation that they're doing here, Mike's Pastries.
Yep.
Um, so this is the Harpoon Cannoli Stout. Um, so we have stout brewed with lactose, cocoa nibs, vanilla, and cannoli shells in the mash. Uh, so I crack this thing open. Give it a try. Yeah, that is probably the most pleasant stout I have ever had.
That's a bold statement.
That's it. Yeah. It's wow. That's really good.
So this here I just cracked the top on just to try live on the show, and it's a thick beer, man.
Mm.
It's a dinner in a bottle, as Lance said last week.
Oh yeah, with yep, meal in a bottle. Gotta love those ones.
Mm. Oh man, I'll tell you, I just put this harpoon in a pint glass, um, and I don't know, something about letting some more air get at it helps even more. That's crazy. So is anybody? I know I am kind of the craft beer snob here, but so is anybody keeping up with upcoming releases from their breweries that they like?
I am not.
Yeah, I haven't been, just due to this whole situation going on. I just found a whole bunch of new breweries around me, provided they're still open, due to that one website you told me about, Nate.
Yeah, the brew to do list.
Right. So before everything shut down, I was gonna go check some of them out, but
Yeah, I know.
that's what.
Piss poor timing all around.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
I have been I follow a few of my favorite breweries on Instagram because I just like to keep up to date with what's coming out. Um, and of course, all these places are nice. You know, I think I mentioned either last week or week before last. A lot of them are doing curbside, and even Pipe Dream, one of my favorites, is actually doing delivery. Um, but a uh, one post that made me very excited is the Backyard Brewery in Manchester is re-releasing a beer called Country Grammar, and
The Nelly
rare.
song.
So it's a play on words because grammar is spelled like graham cracker.
Oh, okay.
So it is a key lime pie sour.
Oh,
Yep. They brew it with real key lime juice and they throw actual graham crackers into their mash.
nice. That's gonna
Yeah.
have that citrusy bite that you look for in your hops.
Yeah, and they throw in some of that lactose sugar, so you get that kind of creaminess from it. Uh,
Nice.
I had bought uh, 3 4 packs last year and got through two of them, and then the third one, um, I took to my cousin's bachelor party and accidentally left it there.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah, so I was bummed, but so here we are about a year later. It's coming out again, and I'm super stoked. Um,
Nice.
and thankfully, they do curbside pickup, so when it is out, I can run up and they'll just bring it to the car. Um, so I'm very, very excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Um, Other than that, not a whole heck of a lot going on. All right, I guess we'll move right into to toys then. Um, so, anyone have any new pickups they want to talk about?
I don't
Uh,
have anything that's new now.
Dustin?
so I got the GI Joe classified Snake Eyes in the mail.
Excellent. So,
I can't myself to open it.
you can Oh, come on, man! I was expecting a review of that.
I know. I can't. I pull the box apart and I look at it and I'm like, man, I think I might order a second one, or see if he gets revealed as a regular release in the line. Because I just, man, the box is incredible.
They announced that he's gonna be a regular release in the line. So the first wave is gonna be 6 figures total. 2 of them are Snake Eyes. Then you've got Roadblock, Scarlet Duke, and now they just revealed Destro.
And Destro looks great. Like I got all excited this morning when I saw pictures of that.
Yeah, he looks really, really good. I had been of the opinion that I wasn't gonna go down that road, but then I saw Destro and I'm like, maybe I do.
Right. Right.
Yeah, they this whole line is shaping up to be really pretty, and I was able to keep myself from going down the Lightning collection route. So if I was able to hold off from that, I think I'll be able to stay strong with the Joes. I am
but at least
tempted.
You can supplement the Lightning collection for Legacy collection.
That's true. That is true.
You don't have anything to supplement the Joes for. It could be harder to resist.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. I just I don't know. As I've said before, the whole action figure thing, just straight action figure. I haven't gone down much. As far as me, I finally cracked open the first few deluxes from Earthrise.
What did you think of those?
So, good for the most part. I had written down some of my thoughts on them in one of the group chats here. So, out of the 3 I've opened up, are Hoist, Wheeljack, and Cliffjumper. Starting with Hoist, because he I thought was going to be the weakest of the 3, and that was pretty much my thoughts. And our articulation is good. The alt mode on this one is just wonky. Like, it's really disproportionate.
Well, don't forget, these ones were designed to be a lot more G1 accurate in terms of the toy and the on-screen aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I think when they do that, it limits them to a certain extent. Because, don't get me wrong, G1 was great, but if you look at a lot of the old G1 stuff, it's just blocky. And it kind of puts you into a hole where it doesn't always look as clean.
Oh yes, I'll definitely agree with that. His transformation was fine. Like, he suffers some of the same things that Siege Hound suffered from, and that being a fair lack of ground clearance. Again, I'm not sure how many people display in alt mode or not, but he was fine. I'm not unhappy that I got him. I opened up Wheeljack after that, and he's impressive in my opinion. The initial bot mode pictures really turned me off on him, but the alt mode was just gorgeous. His transformation is a lot more fun and satisfying than I thought it would be. It's simple. It's pretty simple, but feels like you did something. And then the payoff is that car mode, man. That is just gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. And I will be going down the Shapeways route to get some better sized wings for him. Um, and I forget who the artist was, but they did basically G1 shaped wings, so you don't have to have a spoiler split there. Um, so yeah, I have very little complaints about him. And I finished up with Cliff Jumper. And I know we talked about this last week. Cliff Jumper is impressive. I know we were talking about this last week and what our friend Pete was saying, Dustin. And just right out of the package, he looks and feels different. It feels like this figure feels like someone who was on the MP design team got switched over to retail.
That's always good when that happens.
Because he really does feel a lot like a masterpiece figure. You know, he's about the size of the first MP Bumblebee, and has pretty much all the features that was there. And now that I've had 12 hours to mess around with them and think about it, at first I was kind of disappointed, with, as we were talking about the whole price point thing, him being a deluxe. But I'll tell you, I think the impressive engineering makes up for that.
Right.
Of course, he has the skis, which is a fun little nod, and the gun's great, and that breaks down into a few pieces, and you can do a little more with it. But so so overall, I'm pleased. So I still think Wheeljack takes the number one spot, then Cliff Jumper, then Hoist.
Nice. Yeah, no, I did not have the X Transbots Cliff Jumper. I probably would have bought the new one to put on my MP shelf. The same I did with the Siege Jetfire. He's sitting on my MP shelf because that is the best retail Transformers come out in 10 years.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's amazing.
Yeah, I love him to death.
So the other thing that I got in the mail, and this is where I want to segue into a discussion, is I also got some silicone shock oil in the mail. And that is to help out with the connecting joints for the TFC Hercules that I just got. Because that first time that I put on the Rage kit on him, trying to take it off, I was fairly certain I was going to break the figure. After doing some research, looking on a thread on TFW, people had talked a lot about using that silicone shock oil with especially the Rage joints to help make things a little smoother, pop off easier, so you can go back and forth a little easier. So that's kind of my project for this evening. And where I want that to transition to is to figure repairs. What you guys have done, like to do, and what methods you use for either altering or fixing your figures. Lance, I know you're starting into the custom game, so why don't you lead us off on this?
Sure. I mean, I've dabbled in it for a bit now. Generally, well, fortunately, since I really started collecting again, I've been really super, super careful with my figures. They all have a home, which, Nate, you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And they generally don't move from that home. Where I run into issues more often than not is with my G1 figures. So an example would be G1 Metroplex, who I think we all love, but he has that issue where he'll snap at the waist. When I run into something like that, my first go-to is very carefully applied Gorilla Glue. Other than that, I haven't really had to go too much farther than that with anyone, thankfully. I've got... Who else did I Gorilla Glued somebody else, and I forget who, and it's held to this day, and you can barely tell that anything was wrong. Other than that, I've taken apart a good number of figures. I've taken apart most of the movie Dinobots because I think, as you mentioned, I was customizing for a bit, and I happened to be customizing them. And when I was customizing them, I just got a pin push for pins. So, when you need to take out that pin, get a pin push. I've got a set of precision screwdrivers, the small ones that they generally use for like eyeglass repair. That helps with a lot of the smaller screws. And I think that's mostly it. A good pair of needle nose pliers never hurts.
Yes.
Never know when you're going to need that. That can be a lifesaver in a lot of cases. Just because, depending on the size of your fingers, you may or may not be able to get in a good grip on that small little joint that you're trying to get out, or, whatever it ends up being.
Definitely. Dustin, how about yourself? What fixes have you implemented, and especially with this is you being more on the higher end collecting scale than either Lance or myself? What's your go-to when encountering the rare QC issue?
Well, I guess, knock on wood here, I haven't had a whole lot of issues. So
that's good.
Most stuff is that I haven't had any issues with it on my end. Usually it's NECA that's fucking breaking.
Yep.
And I've only ever just kind of glued joints back together. Just, trying to be as careful as I can to see if they'll still move. But that's very rare. Other than that, I took my Power of the Prime's Predaking apart to put the upgrade kit on him, which made that figure a masterpiece. I took apart my Trypticon's legs to check on the ratchets because of the issue he had when he came out.
Yep.
And my oversized KO gravity builder, took him apart to put stronger ratchets in from the upgrade kit that came out for him. But other than that, I haven't done a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, that's still a fairly significant amount. Some of those upgrade kits can get, I don't know. I feel like they can get dicey sometimes.
Yeah, there's some scary spots usually.
Especially that. What's that figure company? Lance, our friend Dan got a couple of them. That go on the Combiner Wars Prime, which.
The Perfect Effects.
No, I thought it was like NDS or something like that. That was the name of the company.
Maybe. Are you talking about that? Well, which, I guess.
BTW.
Yeah, I'm talking about the kits for that will turn like Battle Core Prime into a Nova Prime.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That
okay.
I
kits
forget
like
the
that.
name of that company.
Yeah,
Yeah, those are extensive kits.
yeah. Those, I mean, that essentially require full rebuilds of figures.
Yeah.
That, I mean, that I just can't wrap my brain around. I am I am more often than not very anal about my figures, having great QC and whatnot, and I have implemented a lot of fixes and stuff. I'll tell you what, in my little figure kit, what is invaluable for me is a bottle of good clear nail polish.
Oh,
Yeah, for loose joints.
Yep, strengthening up joints. Uh, a lot of I used to customize a lot more too. So I have a Dremel at my arsenal if I ever need it. The biggest thing comes to mind there is I don't know if you all remember the Reveal the Shield lug nut. Um,
yeah.
there was a common uh, fix that people used to, and not really a fix, but just a small customization where if you kind of saw through the bottom two fingers, it gave him more hand articulation. Um, so it's stuff like that I would do. Um, and pin removal. Lance made a good point there with pin removal. I use actually a different tool than he does. He uses the pin push. I use an automated uh, pin puncher. Uh, it has like a spring in it, and when you apply force, that spring fires and shoots force down into the rod there to help knock out pins. It's been great. Some of the fixes that I did with that is the Classics Megatron wing removal.
Yep.
If you guys remember Age of Extinction Galvatron, um,
For
they
his backpack, yeah.
yeah, removing his backpack to get a cleaner bot mode. That's the tool that I would use when I tried to give Revenge of the Fallen Bludgeon articulated hands. That's the pin.
Hmm.
That's the tool I would use. So stuff like that.
So one thing that I forgot about because you said the word Galvatron, then I was like, oh okay, the Titans Return Galvatron. I cut that fucking stupid mask off,
Yes. Yep.
and I bought the um Toy Hacks. I guess it used to be Repro Labels
Yep.
kit for him that came with a helmet and sticker sheet for him that was just awesome. I since
Yeah.
sold it already, but yeah, that was an excellent set.
Same here. I did the Shapeways helmet,
Oh, okay.
but it was just a great. I also got from Shapeways that cannon adapter that put it on the side of his arm instead of the top.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would have been helpful.
Yeah, it gives it a whole different look. I wish, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to get uh, render form. Render form was it? I can only think of the guy's name, which is Azim Vangsta. But render form did a kit that was even better. I tried to kind of prep my Galvatron for it, but one of the screws came stripped right out of the box, so essentially it was unable to. But his was awesome because it replaces the whole Titan Master port there with a hinge, and your head goes on that hinge, and you just fold it away in that cavity in his chest.
Oh wow.
Nice.
So you don't need to worry about anything. The
That's
only
good.
downside to that kit is it cost $40, so you're pretty much paying double for the kit than you did the actual figure.
Yeah.
See, on that, by the time you're in, man, I think I paid $65 for my DX9 Galvatron.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so it's almost like you may as well go Masterpiece at that point.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the DX9 one, that was the Mania King, right?
No. They did that. You're not wrong, but the Mania King was the Chug size, Legend size one.
Okay, they did a Masterpiece one too.
Yeah, it was called Tyrant.
Oh yeah. Yep, I remember that one. All right, because I ended up going the Mania King route. I wasn't initially gonna do it, because the first version of Mania King, the colors were slightly off, and then they came out with the
purple.
Yeah, and then they came out with the animation colors, and it was a darker purple, and I saw that, and I was like, I don't care if it has gorilla arms, I just need it.
Right.
So that's been my Galvatron, the Titans Return Galvatron. I didn't think it was too bad. Obviously they came out with the kits for it. But the Titans Return Galvatron is actually my son's now, and he just plays with that. And I'm actually kind of interested to see if they redo Galvatron coming up in later stages of Earthrise. Because if you look at the box art, and I don't know if it's designed to tie into Unicron or not, but like on the very top of the box art, Galvatron is there. So far, every figure that's been on a box, we've pretty much gotten it.
Yeah, I would see them doing a Galvatron for sure, and most likely, you'll see it if they're gonna do it. You'll most likely see it in the fall or next Toy Fair, since Unicron is supposed to ship Q1 next year.
Yeah.
So I would assume they would put like their new Galvatron, Scourges, Cyclonus, that kind of thing within that little like Q1, Q2 of 2021.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree. I'm interested to see too if they end up doing a new Scourge in general, because I didn't think Titans Return one was that bad despite the QEC issues, and I still enjoy the initial Chug one that they got. That was the V-Wing.
Oh, I got 3 of him. Yeah.
Yeah, I got 3 of each of those, or 3 or 4 of each of those. I went all army builder on it.
I was using the original Chug one as Scourge and the Titans Return one as the sweeps.
Nice.
See, I'm gonna do almost the exact opposite because I have 3 of the generations. Those are gonna be my sweeps, and Titans Return is gonna be Scourge.
Oh yeah.
I think you can do it either way, really. I've got.
There's definitely no wrong way about it.
Yeah. I ended up with, because I have a bunch of them, they're all on my shelf, and the only way that I denote which one is Scourge now, and I think it's the one of the Titans Return ones that I got, is I ended up getting the the Arms Micron Fracas when Takara came out with the individual little small Arms Micron guys for the Classics line. So he ended up costing about $40, so it was a little expensive. But now whichever one holds my Fracas is who Scourge is.
Right. I'm definitely in for the V-Wing one, solely based on the fact that he's the only one with pink fingers.
This is true. I didn't even think about that. All right. Well, we're on the subject of Scourge and Target Masters, Arms Micron, stuff like that. One more thing that I forgot to mention is so we all know that Siege Skywarp came with a few Target Masters that you would need for some of the other releases, specifically Fracas for Scourge and Hair Splitter, or they called him Shroot, which we're all pretty sure that's an Office reference, right?
Right.
No, it's actually been around before then.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't remember where the original split came from. But if I remember correctly, I think he's always had kind of that dual name, almost like, it's like who's Frenzy and who's Rumble.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a fun argument. Anyway, so to get that set, originally you would have to pay $50 for the entire set. Um, and a little overpriced in my opinion. If it had been 40, would have been worth it all day. Um, but since it was available for only a short time on Amazon, its prices have skyrocketed. I mean, we're talking people are dropping $200 for this set.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah, why would you ever pay MP prices for a chug set?
Oh yeah. I got lucky and I was able to pick up 3 of the already released Target Masters, Blowpipe, uh, Caliburst, and Aimless for retail. So basically $15 right there.
Nice.
And then just swap around the colors of the limbs. And I know you've both seen the picture that I took of that. And I'll tell you, I am just tickled pink about how this came out. And now that I don't have to drop a stupid amount of money to get those Target Masters, I'm so happy.
Yeah, that's great.
One other thing here, since the conversation was kind of naturally going in that direction, let's talk about these add-on kits. Lance, why don't you fire us up, because I know you have a bunch of them. Give me the rundown of like your favorite add-on kits that you've bought.
Favorites. I'm gonna actually just pick one favorite. I've got a few.
Okay.
Like you said, I've got some of the Perfect Effects ones for Fort Max. I've got City Commander, but my favorite to this day is still Fans Project's Protector Armor for the Classics Hot Rod to turn him into Rodimus Prime.
Yes.
The way that they did it, because he was a smaller deluxe, and they took him and they made him kind of halfway between deluxe and Voyager, so that way Springer is just a little bit taller than him, and of course, depending on which Ultra Magnus you have, I have the Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus. He feels a lot bigger to me, like he should. That, between the aesthetic that it gives it and the height that it puts it at, which I feel is just perfect if you're going with the rest of the chug, that to this day is my Rodimus Prime. It is still my favorite add-on kit, of course, Rodimus being one of my favorite characters to begin with.
I'm so happy you said that.
Yeah, I don't think there's an add-on kit to me that does more for a figure and takes it and puts it right about at where it should be and makes it just perfect for me.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, I have handled that kit only because of Lance, and it is good. It's good to the point where I've thought about picking it up, and prices are starting to come down on it, which is nice. It's starting to hover around that 70 to 80 mark. Do you remember what it was originally, Lance?
I believe City Commander was about 75 originally. I want to say that it was around the same price point. So if it's hovering around 70 or 80 right now, I'd say that's the point you want to jump, because that's about original retail.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, one of the things that I would love to pick up with that is I don't know if you've ever seen that recolor of the Classics Rodimus that came with the Clash on Planet Junk.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That is pure G1 goodness right there, and I think would look amazing with that kit.
It would, except, and this is an issue that I ran into with the Jinrai that you just got. So the I guess in the US they technically termed him as Delta Magnus, that Jinrai Power Master Optimus Prime style with the God Bomber add-on kit. So Perfect Effects, when they came out with their entire thing, which basically takes that figure and makes it a $300 chug figure. When they came out with that entire set, they came out with the transforming cab. The transforming cab, if you were to take that transforming cab and put it into the full-blown Jinrai set, that cab gets completely covered up by the chest plate. And it's a very similar thing with Hot Rod when you're putting on the protector armor. He, for all intents and purposes, gets almost completely covered up and you don't see him. So that's why in that case, for like the protector armor kit, I'm fine with the Classics Chug. I'm not even going to get repro labels for it, because that kit ends up covering up so much of the bot that, and this is a me personal thing, I mean, you do what you want, it's your collection. But for me personally, it covers up so much of that underlying bot. I don't necessarily want to have a bot that I love to get covered up, even if the kit makes it that much better, because I want to be able to see that bot as well.
Yeah, and because initially what I was thinking is if I somehow come across that Rodimus for cheap, that he would be that Clash on Planet Junk would be my designated Classics Rodimus for the shelf, and then the original 06 release would go on the kit.
Yeah.
All right, so Dustin, over to you. Go around. Actually, before we move on there, so Lance, how about least favorite? Like a kit that you picked up and then you thought, "Wow, this doesn't do much at all."
A kit that I picked up and thought that it didn't really do much at all. That's kind of hard, because with the kits, when it came to the kits, I specifically waited and saw how it looked on the figure before I went and I pre-ordered it. And I generally waited for some reviews. Who has an add-on kit on them? So, all right, so I'll do this. And it's not the quality of the kit. I'll go back to that Jinrai kit. When you get, I want to say it was like PE22 or whatever the Jinrai is for the cab, that transforming cab for Power Master Optimus Prime / Jinrai. I would say that is the kit that I bought, and that actually, if I were to have kept it on the Jinrai figure, because it gets covered up so much, it wouldn't have done anything. That was probably the most expensive piece of the kit. If I remember, that was somewhere around $65 for that bot. That bot gets hidden. He's an amazing bot, and I love to be able to display him. But that bot gets hidden, and if you're looking to build the total super God Bomber Jinrai, that kit, I would say skip it. Get the other ones, but skip the one where that gives it the bot, that makes the inner core, the cab, the bot, unless you absolutely have to have this like is as G1 as you can get it. Because if you're just gonna do what I do, which is put Super God Bomber Jinrai together, put them on your shelf in the back of all of your Optimuses because he's the tallest one. If you have that kit on it, if you have that cab that becomes a robot, which is they also called it the Jinrai, so it's a little confusing. Um, that was just a $65 waste of money. Not that it's not a great figure, because on its own, it's an amazing figure. It's just that when you put him together with the rest of Super God Bomber Jinrai, it just doesn't do anything for the figure, in my opinion.
All right. Interesting. I would have thought maybe you would have said some of the weapon sets that you've gotten. I didn't necessarily expect you to say that, because I know how much you are absolutely in love with that kit. But I see
Yeah.
where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. I mean, the weapon sets in general are pretty cheap, right? So
Yeah.
I've got the Springer. I've got a bunch of the Dr. Wu upgrades for the classic Springer to give him that Gatling rifle, and then to give him the 2 larger handguns. And you know what? That's short money, because I think they were $15 for one and like $5 for the other one. It's other than that, it's like the Shapeways G1 rifle for punch counter punch, the Decepticon one, because I didn't have the original Decepticon rifle anymore. I had the original Autobot one, so I bought 2 punch counter punches, and one's on my Autobot shelf as an Autobot, and the other's on the Decepticon shelf as the Decepticon with the rifle. But other than that, I tried to make very strategic purchases. And yeah, so weapon kits don't generally bother me as much because they're short money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that Jinrai one, you're paying a premium price for a premium classics or chug scale figure, and then you just go and you cover them up. Doesn't make sense to me. Especially with the quality that you get out of Perfect Effects. I like to have him free. Let him be. Let him breathe.
And he is a superb figure. I mean, it really is. It really is incredible.
Oh, they both are. Don't get me wrong. But once you get the upgrade kit or the other upgrade kits for the Jinrai, and he gives you the heel stabilizers and the head that lights up and like all those little things. They're both phenomenal figures. But like I said, it's just a matter of I got the add-on kit from Perfect Effect. I loved it so much. I hated to have it covered up.
Yep. All right, Dustin. Let's same question for you. Which of the add-on kits that you've gotten for figures, what has been your absolute favorite?
And why don't you go first, Nate? I gotta take a pee break real quick.
Cool. All right, so I too have a bunch of upgrade kits, and I'm starting to think, starting to run through them in my head, and one of my favorites, I think, my ultimate favorite is the City Commander, because that is my IDW Ultra Magnus. It is it's how I got him, because it came out initially, and we thought we were only going to get a white recolor of Prime like we always do, and this kit gave us an actual individual Ultra Magnus.
Yeah.
I also love, and I never got rid of it. Even though Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus is fantastic, I never got rid of it because of its historical significance. As one of the first widely known add-on kits. I know Fans Project did the very short run Cliff Jumper set before City
It
Commander.
was a very short run, and it was very sought after.
Yeah, and I know there's a knockoff version of almost all Fans Project stuff now, but that proper kit has not fully tanked in value, but it's nowhere near like what it was.
No, especially with Earthrise.
So that's my ultimate favorite. Another favorite that I have is the Professor Heisenberg cannon and cleaver set. And what those are is they are G1 inspired weapons for the Titan's Return Fort Max. The sword is trying to think of the Comic-Con sword, and I think it's a little different from that because it has some translucent plastic in there. But it's amazing. And of course, the cannon set is a super faithful recreation of the G1 big cannon that Fort Max had. It's cool. It has a fold-in handle, so you can display it on a tower to just like you would the G1 one. And that's kind of the favorites of all of mine. The least favorites that I have right now. Now, as you were saying, Lance, some of the kits are very short money, and some add more than others, and some don't. Some that I kind of wonder if after a few years after the purchase was like a couple of the Shapeways things, like the hard plastic antenna for Combiner Wars Superion. Was it really necessary? And that's that's up for debate to the individual person.
Yeah.
I think the one that I say that I'm on the line with, that I'm happy I have, but it's also like this never gets any use, is the very first third-party trailer for MP01. The one that was essentially an upscaled Generation 1 trailer.
I don't think I've ever actually seen that.
All right, I'll yeah. It's so big. Like next time you are here, I'll definitely show it to you.
Gotta be massive.
It is. It's huge, and I actually added because there was an upgrade kit from the same guy that added a lot of tech detail and whatnot, and that was just printed resin. So I glued that on a couple of years after, and I slightly regret that because they were just resin prints, very from the very early stages of 3D printing. There's been a lot of warping on that kit, on those panel details, which is unfortunate. But a fun fact about that trailer, and this factors into one of the reasons why I think it's kind of cool to have it. the guy who made it, who goes on TFW 2005 under the name Dalian JJ. He is the guy who started Fans Toys.
Really?
And so this piece is widely regarded as the very first Fans Toys figure. Now we all know that Fans Toys brand has taken on a life of its own at this point, because of their somewhat insane fan base, and especially reviewers like Bobby Skullface, who has helped feed into that. I don't know what you'd call it. Feed into that movement. Feed into that.
I'd say it's probably, they're fanatics, right? They're fans.
Yeah. Yep. Without a doubt. But still, because it never really gets displayed and just kind of sits in the box right now, I occasionally look at it and go, did I need to spend that $120 on that?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm, so that will kind of go down as my least favorite.
Yeah, I think it's tough, especially when if you're going to be actively buying, you've got to decide whether or not you want this add-on kit now and whether it's worth it for that figure. I think a lot of what Hasbro and Takara have been doing lately is they've listened to the feedback, they've seen what's been going on in the marketplace, and they said, okay, well, what we're going to do is we had this figure, let's take Ultra Magnus, for example, right? We had this figure back in 2006, 2007, and we released him as a white rendition of Optimus Prime. And we didn't really do the character justice. So they got to combine our wars and said, all right, we're going to do it with the IDW slant. And some people were on board with it. Some people weren't. And then they said, okay, well, you want a separate bot and a trailer? And we got the current one, the Siege Ultra Magnus. So I think what Hasbro and Takara have been doing is they've been trying to go back and they've been trying to say, okay, we released this one. Here's the feedback that we got. How do we make it better? And I think, again, like you said earlier, where it's almost like with Wheeljack that they're going back and doing certain things on Masterpiece scale. I would 100% agree with you, because I think that's a lot of the feedback that they were getting in general from the fan base is, hey, we want basically Masterpiece scale figure or Masterpiece quality figures at a chug price, which is a little ridiculous to a point. Just when you think about the engineering and the costs and the detail that goes into it. But it's also a good reason why we saw that price jump from, say, Prime Wars into Siege. Because up $5 figure price jump that we experienced, $4 or $5. So I would think that it's interesting to see, especially, where, I went out and I spent. So we're in a similar boat. So if we're talking Ultra Magnus, okay, I wanted to get that Ultra Magnus initially. All right, so that was what, $40-$50 for that 2-pack with him and Skywarp?
Yeah, well, unless you bought him on deep clearance when Target was shelling them out for $3.62.
Right, which would have been awesome, but that wasn't me. I paid retail because I bought mine at Toys R Us.
Yeah. Well, you mean Target, right?
Was it a Target exclusive? I
It
didn't think it
was.
was a Target exclusive.
Yeah, it was Target exclusive.
Okay, then yeah, I bought mine at Target, and I guarantee you I paid whatever price was there on the day that I was at Target.
Mm.
Uh, I needed Skywarp anyway to round out my Classic Seekers, which is another army builder situation that I went down. And I've always had a soft spot, again, for Ultra Magnus, the 86 movie. I think most of us are fond of that in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But you shell out $50 there, then you get the City Commander kit. They're $75. So now you're basically $125 into this figure. And now Hasbro is coming out with newer, better figures. So is it worth it to get the upgrade kit? I'm fairly certain I'm in the camp that, yeah, for the time that I have it, and I still have mine, it made me happy. It's cool. I'm okay with it. But I think it's a valid question at some point that you got to say, okay, is it worth it to shell out what ends up being $125 for this one figure, and then still go and spend another $100 on the following two versions?
Mm. That's beyond fair. Yeah, that's a good point. Dustin, how about you now?
See, I got to go back to when what Lance said. Like, I love the protector kit for Rodimus. Like, he proudly sits in my Chug IDW section.
Yeah, well, now you guys are really beginning to sell me on them.
I mean, great, dude. I had my buddy Sam from THC went up to his house one day, and he gave it to me because it was almost my birthday.
Nice.
Wow, that's awesome.
And it about seeing a grown man cry, man. For real. Because I've been here for years. I just didn't spend the money on it. And then there it was. There you go. I was like, motherfucker. Other than that, the Predaking kit for Power of the Prime's Predaking is great. But I don't have too many add-on kits for anything, so I don't know if I have a bad one in my mind anyway.
It doesn't necessarily have to be bad, but is there one, whether it be for Transformers or any third party, 6-scale weapons or something like that, that you look at now and go, was that entirely worth it?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Again, like most of the time, I'll buy a figure or anything, or at least for the most part, stuff I buy, it comes with pretty much everything I would have wanted it to come with.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time. There's a lot of figures that I wish I probably wouldn't have bought, but I don't know.
All right. Well, I think that rounds out this week for our toy section. So let's get into the Wrasslin. Lance, why don't you lead us off with this one? Because I too am going to take a little break here.
Sure. So I didn't watch from Monday Night Raw in its entirety. It started out really well, and then they went into a replay of I want to say it was a replay of a triple threat match from a couple of WrestleManias ago that involved John Cena, and I don't remember which one because I think that was before I got back into it. But Raw was really good. One of the things that they did, and I think we talked about this a little bit last week too, is they repositioned the hard cam. So that way the hard cam was looking at the stage background. So that way it made it feel a little bit more full. They kept that through SmackDown. They actually did have an NXT this week, which of course excited me because I'm a huge NXT fan. With the NXT stuff, they announced that the matches that were going to take place at TakeOver are now taking place over the course of the next 2 weeks, which is good and bad. I think the TakeOver quality matches the quality matches of match you get at an NXT TakeOver is so far and above even some of the best matches that WWE just offers regularly at their pay-per-views. They're basically giving it away free, which to me is mind-blowing. The big thing to come out of NXT was a stipulation between Gargano and Ciampa, and Triple H basically going and saying, this has gone on too long. It's the rivalry between the two. It's too much. It ends after this match in 2 weeks. And he said, I'm going to find an empty building. I'm going to give you guys a referee. The two of you are going to go in, and one of you is walking out, and then it is done. It is over. Which, for me, is heartbreaking because the two of them are goddamn magic. I think I've talked about it before. Taker, Cena, Reigns, Michaels. When I watch those two go at it, I get the same feeling that most people get from watching those big names. Austin, The Rock, with Gargano and Ciampa.
Yeah.
Other thing that happened at the very end of that, which was very interesting, is NXT has had this promo going on, like they do the little vignettes sometimes to introduce a wrestler. And it was a countdown clock that had been counting down. Last week it hit 11 when it popped up. This week at the end it hit 12. And it didn't introduce a wrestler's name, but you did get a little bit of that wrestler's face, and it was Killer Cross. So I don't know if Killer Cross is going to be involved or getting involved in that match. I don't know if they did it just to hype the appearance of Killer Cross, and I don't know when that's going to be. Usually, the takeover at WrestleMania, some big guy comes in. Adam Cole a couple of years ago, for instance, or a few years back when he first came in. Drew McIntyre had just beaten Bobby Roode for the NXT title. Adam Cole comes in the crowd and gives him the last shot, his version of the Shining Wizard. So it's kind of interesting to see them kind of call it with Killer Cross and put Killer Cross in a light with arguably the two top stars in NXT. But it kind of tracks with what I've been hearing. What I hear is that Triple H is very, very high on Killer Cross. So we'll see going forward. SmackDown was good. You had kind of the teasing of the continued tensions between Sasha and Bayley ahead of that 5-person elimination match at WrestleMania. That includes, surprisingly, Tamina Snuka. It's nice to see her back. I'm wondering if she'll be, taking a more active role now. I know she's kind of been in and out of just in general contention. So we'll see what happens. And then
Corbin. And I do wonder if now that we're seeing more of Tamina, if that means they're sort of using that as a small teaser, because now that we know Nia is supposed to be back soon, that's what they're trying to do.
Do you think they're trying to do that, or you think they're trying to bring in a dominant sort of force to combat what AEW has done with not Nia Jax. What's her name? The Native Beast, Nyla Rose. There we go.
Potentially.
Because she's very interesting in that she is the first that I know of, and I'm not saying it's first across everything, but she is the first that I know of transgender and Native American champion, or at least Native American women's champion. So I think that's an interesting spin that AEW has taken there, and I don't dislike it. I actually like it a lot.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see what happens. AEW was again really good. They had a few matches here and there. They had, instead of the boys being the audience this week, they were all in the back watching, which I thought was an interesting kind of change. You basically saw them all in a trailer watching the TV. They weren't ringside. You had a few good matches. You had Sammy Guevara facing off against Kenny Omega for the AAA Mega Championship. And that was a really good match. They both looked phenomenal. I mean, I don't think Kenny's been in a match where he hasn't, but Sammy Guevara looked damn good, and he's another young kid that every time I see him, I like him that much more. The show ended with Jericho confronting Matt Hardy.
That was really good.
Yeah, that was really good. I gotta say, Jericho is amazing in that he basically started out the entire promo cutting a promo on Vanguard 1. The man literally had a promo with a helicopter drone, and it was, to quote Matt Hardy, wonderful. That had to be the most ridiculously hilarious, one of the most entertaining things that I've seen AEW do.
And that speaks volumes to what we already knew about Jericho, and that is, you can hand him anything, and maybe not turn to solid gold, but he does great with what he's given.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think anyone can argue that whatever Chris Jericho does ends up being absolute gold. I mean, you remember back to his time in WWE, and I think it started on a dare. He literally put over the word "it."
Yep.
Yeah.
The guy is absolutely incredible in everything he does.
So, Dustin, how about you? Did you catch After Dark this week?
I didn't, but I did end up downloading the WWE Network for its little free thing going on right now.
Yep.
Awesome.
And I spent my time watching that Broken Skull Ranch or whatever, the Broken Skull, whatever, from Stone Cold. I watched him with Bret Hart and Undertaker, and those were incredible.
Those have been awesome. I haven't watched the Hart one yet, but I've watched the Taker and Goldberg ones. Just amazing.
He's been doing
Yeah.
his podcast for a long, long time too, and I think that's obviously where he gets all that practice from. And
Mhm.
I mean, it's Stone Cold. B,
Right.
he's just so good at what he does.
Doesn't matter where he is. Sitting in a studio, coming out to a ring, I pop for Stone Cold every time I see him.
Right.
So I finally gave these taped Raws a chance. The taped Raws and SmackDowns a chance. And oh, it's tough. It's tough to get into. It really is. It also, I was bummed to see. So I first checked out the one from March 16th. Um, so at first I thought they were showing like a recap from the Royal Rumble, and then as I started fast forwarding a little bit, I realized
They showed the whole
they're
Rumble.
they showed the entirety of the Rumble. They had the match between Andrade and Mysterio, which with uh, what Asuka on commentary was just weird. Um,
I don't know. I really, really enjoy Asuka on commentary. They've brought her out a few times, and don't get me wrong, foreign heel gimmick, I get it. It's a little tired, but
mm,
I think she does it really, really well.
she does. She does. And I guess I'm just confused on where they're they want her to fit into the story here. Does she just want to be a heel just to be a heel? Is she gonna get into it with Zelina Vega? What is the purpose? Is I guess what I'm trying to figure out.
I think they're a little confused with what to do with Asuka in general right now,
Yeah.
and I think that's probably an extension of it. Um, I guess we'll see. I think WrestleMania they're setting up is versus Bliss and Cross again, which I have zero issues with. I just think that if Bliss and Cross go over, then my concern is what happens to Asuka.
After
Because
that, yeah.
I watched Asuka in NXT. She is friggin' phenomenal. But that's with a certain person running the show, and as we all know, as you move up, the person running the show changes. Um,
The person who loves big sweaty men.
oh, speaking of that, did you watch any of the Brody Lee stuff from AEW this week?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
that was it was hilarious because it's a lot of the stuff that you hear
Mm-hmm.
that he's doing right down to kicking the guy out of the room for sneezing. So I was I know somebody was like, "Oh my God, they're taking a dig at it." I'm like, "Yeah, but knowing from what I've heard about Vince, he'd probably see it, he'd chuckle and enjoy it more than anything else." And it was just really, really well done.
Yeah, mocking the whole higher power thing and that it was great. I will say so. That's where that's what I want to touch on is AEW is because uh, I think they are killing it in the current circumstances. Um, I think they're handling it a little better than WWE is, um, but that's just my opinion. Um, I will say, when I saw the reveal of who the Exalted One was and saw that it was Brody Lee Harper, um, I was I was so happy. I thought I would have been even more happy if he was using his real name as his ring name because his real name is Jonathan Huber. which is not a terrible name. Um, but the fact that we get to see him have a solo career, him being on his own, I am so
Yeah.
pumped for. Because I think Luke Harper could have had a very successful solo career in WWE. They just, every single time he'd come back, he'd say, "Oh, we're going to throw you with Rowan again." And you're going to be in a completely different gimmick, but you're still going to be with Rowan. Um,
Yeah, I thought that earlier on they would have used him a little bit differently, especially because if I remember correctly, at one point while he was with the Wyatt family, he picked up the IC title, right?
mhm.
Um, and just watching even his in-ring style, because this week was his first match on AEW. He pulled out a springboard senton, which is something that he would never have done in WWE because that's not what his character called for. He was playing the big guy, not the athletic big guy, just the big guy. And he really is an athletic big guy. So once I saw that springboard senton, I was in. I'm like, I want to see him succeed. I want to see where this goes.
Yeah, and I wish they had let him do more of that, especially as an athletic big guy, because you've got Keith Lee rising in the ranks, and a scuffle between those two, I
Oh,
would
great.
pull out the popcorn. I am in.
Lee, I have to say, Lee Dijakovic. I'm generally not a fan of just like the big guys going at it, but Lee Dijakovic, the series that they've had in NXT, and I understand that they've wrestled a lot prior to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But oh god, that series of matches, just you everything, speed, power, high flying, all the things you can think of that you would be like, I want to see this in wrestling, with the exception of comedy. They're all there.
Yeah. Yep. So I guess we should move on to what our thoughts on Mania is going to be. Um, that's next weekend. And I think we're thinking about doing a live reaction while recording some of the podcast.
I think we should. I think it's going to be because it's going to be a 2 night event. Like I think it's going to be just one of those things that you know calls for it. The situation is right, the time is right. If everybody has the availability, I think it'd be fun. I think we should do that.
Yeah. Um, but so I guess we've gotten a lot of news recently about stars that have either willingly pulled out or have been taken out
Yep.
of Mania because of illness. I know with Reigns, him dealing with leukemia, he doesn't want to possibly get exposed.
Yeah.
What? So, what are your? Well, let's go around the table here. What is everybody's thoughts on a no audience Mania happening over 2 nights?
I think it's the way that it should be. It's very Vince. Show must go on.
Mm-hmm.
If we remember the tragedy that happened to Owen, that show still went on. I don't have a problem with them changing up the card where needed. I think that from what it looks like and from what I'm understanding, they're allowing the wrestlers to take the time off if they feel like they're unsafe, which I think, excuse me, in the past may not have happened, but now I think it shows you kind of how far the company has come from where it was to where it is. Um, I think that, you know, we, I'm go- obviously I'm gonna watch it, but again, the show goes on. It's very Vince. I think it should go on. I don't think they have to delay it. Crowd reaction is a huge part of wrestling, but since we don't really know when things are going to quote unquote normalize, the only thing you can do is keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'll reserve my comments for when it's my turn. So, Dustin, your thoughts on Mania, which for this is 36, right?
Yes.
For the past 36 years has been in front of large crowds, especially in the past 10 years, has been in front of stadium crowds, not just arenas, but stadiums. So what's your take and opinion on uh, some wrestlers being taken out and being, not being in front of a crowd?
I don't know how I feel about it yet. I mean, of course, it's probably like Lance said, the best way that could be done, because you could push it back and you could have SummerSlam Mania or whatever, but it's not, it's not going to be the same. And who knows what state everything will be in by then anyway. Hopefully they put on some good matches. It's going to be weird with no audience. At least they know they're definitely going to set an attendance record. Just long.
Did you see that they have on WWEshop.com WrestleMania 36 shirts that say "I wasn't there"?
That's hilarious. At least they're having
that
a good
is
joke.
hilarious. Yeah,
I think that's probably the best marketing that they've done in years.
Yeah. And definitely like you said, the Vince is the ultimate show must go on guy. So it's just gonna happen whether we like it or not. It'll probably be a decent show, hopefully. But strange times.
it is. And as for me, I'm without a doubt caught in the middle. Because we all know Vince's proclivity for the show must go on always. But at the same time, I look back and look at the impact the crowd has had on shows. Imagine, and as long as I should preface it with, as long as they write into all the matches that there is no crowd, then it could be okay. But right. I think back to the Yes Movement, Daniel Bryan's win at WrestleMania 30. What would that be without the crowd reaction? You'd be happy. Yeah, it would be strange. It'd be super strange. What would the Hardys' return be without the crowd reaction? Just very, very strange thing. So as long as they don't, and I feel bad for saying this because it's Mania, if it's treated like a glorified house show and there are no massive upsets or anything, then I think it'll be more successful. If there's a ton of false finishes and things they like to put into Mania, it's gonna be weird.
It would
You
also
know,
be weird with no elaborate entrances, which seemed like half of the matches.
it
Like
is. I
half the
mean,
match was like this grandiose entrances, at least for the main events.
exactly. Now that they have Fox money, um, and USA money, we've seen Pyro make a return, which is fantastic. And usually they reserve Pyro for the once a year at Mania.
Right.
But yeah, without the big entrances, it's just odd. I'll tell you what it reminds me of. Are either of you two familiar with Star Trek Voyager?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So do you remember that episode where The Rock guest starred?
Yep. And he was that cage fighter or gladiator kind of thing.
Yeah, where everyone thought they were going to see the cage fight, but what they were seeing was the hologram transmission of the fight.
Oh,
They were
right.
actually fighting on a ship ways away.
Yeah.
Like that's what this reminds me of.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it definitely has that ring to it.
Mm. So yeah, so I'm caught in the middle because I want the big reactions. I wouldn't have been mad because there was a rumor going around that they were going to put it off till June and to hold it in Madison Square Garden, which is very historic for WrestleMania. And I think I personally would have liked to have seen that. But of course, there's no guarantee that by June anyone's going to be able to hold events like that. So, I don't know. I guess to put it all in one thought, I'm like you, Dustin. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it.
Right.
So, all right. So, guys, let's take a moment and appreciate that this is the 4th episode. We've been doing this podcast for 1 month now.
Right.
Fantastic. Does anybody?
Is anybody listening? I'll tell you what. We're getting double-digit numbers on the views. So, granted, it's in the low double digits. It's double digits or less.
to make a reference to tie it all together, the dozens and dozens
and dozens of the BTW's fans.
There we go. Get a little Foley going.
I'm currently posting this on my personal channel, and I figured if it grows enough, I would create a separate channel for this podcast. But so far, we've got 8 new subscribers to the channel.
Right.
That's nice.
Over the past 4 weeks. So, I'm happy this is going the way it's going, and I appreciate all of you who tune in to listen to this. Because it is on YouTube, we have to pander to the YouTube gods and say either like or dislike the video when I put it up. Comments below. Let us know that you either like or dislike what we're doing. And thank you all for being with us on this first month journey. Keep tuning in. For the BTW podcast, I am Nate Gleason, joined by Lance Johnson.
See ya.
And Dustin Hayward.
Adios.
And we will see you guys every Monday for new episodes. Have a good one.